All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of On Trial with Josh Lowry, the show where we take one issue and we put it on trial at a time. Man, my hair's just some crazy. Okay, look, today we have no guests. Today we have one issue, but we don't need a guest because I have a background in election law, but also I got plenty to say. We're going to talk about gerrymandering, the whole partisan redistricting in the middle of a decade that you're hearing about everywhere. Right here in Indiana, we're at the center of this, but this is a whole national thing. This is decades in the making, if not, hundreds of years. And it goes to something much bigger and not something that I actually think most people are talking about. So, look, I'm going to start a little bit from the beginning. What is redistricting? Like, what are we talking about, right? So, we have the House of Representatives in Congress, right? They also do it at the state level, but that's not what we're talking about right now. Every 10 years, we have the census and we figure out how many people are in each state. Then they divvy up the House of Representatives, how many representatives each state gets, blah, goes to the states. The states get to draw the lines. Now, caveat, keep this in your brain because we're going to get back to this. The Constitution says that Congress can set the time, manner, and place. So, yes, the states get to decide, but Congress could step in and set a big, bright line rule. So, everything I'm about to say, everything that you're hearing in the news, every time you hear a congressman, every time you hear someone say, hey, we have to gerrymander in our state to fight what somebody else is doing in another state. No, no. Congress could ban all gerrymandering tomorrow if they wanted. In fact, in 2021, Democrats tried to pass a bill that would have done that. Every Democrat in the House voted for it. You know how many Republicans voted for it? Zip, none. Nada. So, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I have heard a lot of Republicans, including Victoria Spartz, our congresswoman right here in Indiana District 5, say that she supports redistricting Indiana into having 9 out of 9 Republican seats, despite the fact that Democrats always get at least 40% of the vote statewide. 9 out of 9 seats Republican, because she said it has to be done to fight gerrymandering in Democrat states. She is in the majority of Congress. Her and every other Republican in Congress right now could pass a bill banning gerrymandering and partisan redistricting all over the country. And they know they have enough votes for it from Democrats to join them because the Democrats already tried to ban it. So every time you hear Victoria Spartz or any other congressman, Republican in the majority, say, we have to do a gerrymander in this state to advantage Republicans to combat against Democrats in another state, bullshit. They could ban all gerrymandering tomorrow. Okay, we jumped in a little hot and heavy. I'm sorry. Let me actually tell the story of gerrymandering now that I've yelled about it. But I don't feel bad about yelling about it because I keep seeing a ton of Republicans saying, "Oh, we have to gerrymander Indiana to fight Illinois." No, no, you could get rid of all gerrymandering. That's just the route that you want to go because it gives you more power. Look, you're going to hear a lot of things on this podcast that sound repetitive at this point, but that's why, right? One, Republicans in office lie. It's a feature, not a symptom. Did I say that right? It happens all the fucking time. On top of that, what are most politicians doing a lot of this shit for? Money and power. What do they want more than anything? They want power. And the Republicans want to stay in the majority, even though they're probably going to lose it. But Donald Trump's been flat out like, hey, we're going to rig the system. Republicans in office lie. This is just how Trump works. And usually, if you think what a politician is doing does not benefit the voters, and you're like, well, why would they do that? It's either money or power. The Locks had a song, Money, Power, Respect. And that was always like kind of the phrase, right? Like people are usually doing something for money, power, and respect. The Republicans in Congress don't give a shit about respect. I mean, they will do anything that Donald Trump asks them, no matter how embarrassing. I mean, you remember when Donald Trump went after Ted Cruz's wife and then Ted Cruz just like let it go? He doesn't care about respect. He cares about money and power. Because if he cared about respect, would you be chummy with somebody that attacked your wife like that? Or your significant other? Or just like anybody you cared about? All right, let's get back to redistricting. Told you, coming in hot and heavy on this one. All right, so every 10 years, we have the census. States then get to go draw their district lines. Shouldn't be controversial. Of course it is. As we developed computers, the ability to draw lines to benefit a party became more and more possible. Now, also some of that is voters started to, the way they vote has a lot more to do with where they lived in before, right? You used to have more urban Republicans and more rural Democrats, and now that's not so much, right? So now with some of these computers, I mean, they can draw down to a T in a way that would benefit one party over the other. So for anybody that's really interested about this topic, you need to go read the book Rat Fucked. I know a lot of people say, Josh, you love to say the F word very often, and that's true, but that's actually the name of the book. Okay. It's by David Daley, subtitle, Why Your Vote Doesn't Count. He talks in this book, right? So you have the census and then you have the redrawing. This was actually a plan, right? So it's called Project REDMAP. And at some time in the mid 2000s, a group of Republicans were like, hey, do you guys think that we should like have policies that help people so that we'll keep getting reelected? And they talked about it and they're like, nah, fuck that. What if we just rig the system? What if we just build the districts so that it really benefits Republicans? Well, that's what they did. Because, see, it costs $1 billion to run for president. But to get control of a state Senate seat or a state House seat, I mean, some places $10,000 can flip it. Some places it gets way more expensive. Kyle Walker, the state senator over in like Fishers, that dude raised $1.5 million to buy a state Senate seat. He bought the state Senate seat. All right. I don't think anybody watching was like, ooh, that's a good politician. So, sorry. Every now some people catch some strays. Happens. So this group, Project REDMAP, they've literally figured out, okay, how can we strategically pick up some state seats all across America so that we will be in control of the state houses when they redistrict after the next census. So they do that. It was effective. 2010 happens. There is a red wave, right? Why? I don't have time to talk about it, but here's the point. Republicans won a ton of seats. They really did, all over the place, right? And because of those strategically picked seats that they were able to pick up, they now controlled the redistricting in a lot of states. And some, like Wisconsin, where it's really more of a toss-up state. It's a 50-50 state. But somehow they're drawing lines that only benefit Republicans. You want an example? Wisconsin is the perfect example. Listen to these numbers. The elections, 2012, 2014, 2016, 2018, and 2020. In those races, Democrats won over 50% of the vote 3 of the 10 times. Yet they only won a majority of the Wisconsin House seats once. Say, Josh, that math doesn't add up. There's 8 seats in Wisconsin, so it's like perfectly even, right? So I guess it should be split 4-4, or maybe the group that gets like 53, 54% picks up that 5th one. Is that right, Josh? No, because for some reason, even when Democrats got over 50% of the vote in those years that I just talked about, Republicans still held 5 of the 8 seats. Why? They gerrymandered. They did redistricting. I've always wondered, by the way, gerrymander was named after a guy named, I think his last name was Jerry, like something Jerry. And like, I wonder if he's ever like sitting there in whatever afterlife and just being like, what the hell, guys? I drew a shitty map once and you won't let me live in peace. So the gerrymander happens. Democrats aren't dumb to this. Some Democrat states do it back, but not as much. Look, you don't have to listen to too many podcasts to hear a general complaint about Democrats is that they don't always fight back as hard as Republicans, and that better damn well change. But even if you say, okay, here's the number of seats the Democrats gerrymandered to win that they shouldn't have, here's the number of seats the Republicans gerrymandered to win that they shouldn't have, pretty much every analysis shows that in the 2010, Republicans gerrymandered to the point where they had a net gain of like 16 seats, meaning you take all the seats Democrats gerrymandered to their benefit. You take all the seats Republicans gerrymandered to their benefit. And Republicans did it for 16 more seats than the Democrats. And you say, Josh, is that enough that matters? I mean, we got over 400 representatives in House. Yes, it does. Do you know why? There was only one time between 2012 to 2020 where that wouldn't have made the difference. These are close elections a lot, guys. We are kind of a divided country, 50-50. You give one side a benefit of 16 or 17 seats, I mean, that's damn near like going to be the result. There are multiple times in the past 15 years that had gerrymandering not happened and independent districts were drawn in a way that didn't favor any party, multiple times Republicans would have lost control of the House when they had control of the House. I mean, we're talking about the difference between massive things. I mean, basically a totally different outcome for the last 15 years because of this plan back in the mid-2000s, Project REDMAP. So look, we've been living with redistricting and gerrymandering and the results for a while now. But something has completely changed recently. One, in a lot of places, Democrats unilaterally disarmed. And what do I mean by that? There are 4 states where Democrat-controlled states put in independent redistricting commissions. So as where like Republican-controlled states, they are drawing districts that benefit them. And Democratic states, the Democrats are drawing districts that benefit them. These states were Democrat held and went and put in independent redistricting commissions, which did exactly like what it says, independent redistricting, right? It took the advantage away. So here's the problem. You take 4 states, that's a lot of seats. I think it's 82. I think that's the number I saw. 82 different congressional seats. Democrats just gerrymandered those like the Republicans do. And yes, like the Democrats do in some states. I mean, we have a completely different outcome throughout the 2010s, right? So redistricting, gerrymandering's bad, right? Yeah, because there's something other than just who wins the seat, right? And this is proven. They've done a lot of analysis on this. The more red your seat is, the less that person ever works across the aisle. Everybody's obsessed with bipartisanship. They want to see both sides work together. You know who never works together with the other side? Republicans in deeply red seats. They don't have to. They don't want to. You put a Republican in a less red seat where it could flip the other way. Look, those are the people that generally work with the Democrats on some of these bills where they get shit done. Now, look, I have a whole nother rant for another day about moderate Republicans because they don't really exist anymore. But I think in a lot of those cases, that's at least what some of those voters there want. And the Republicans are taking that away from them to even have that option. So redistricting can be used to advantage one party over the other. Republicans have just done a better job of it, right? But didn't I say earlier that this is something that only happens every decade, right? After the census? So then why are we talking about it now? It's 2025. It's the middle of a census decade. I don't know if that's a correct way to phrase it, but you see what I'm getting at, right? There's no reason to redistrict. We usually only redistrict every state after you have the census and you find out how many seats you have. Well, there's this guy, Donald Trump, and he doesn't give a shit about anything. Not norms, not rules, not standards. I mean, the dude paints himself orange. He literally rolled out a red carpet for a murderous dictator, Vladimir Putin, and he intentionally hangs out with J.D. Vance. I mean, yeah, right? So Trump and the Republicans in Congress, they passed the big, beautiful bill, and no one likes it. It drastically increases the deficit. It gets rid of all kinds of subsidies for solar, for healthcare, for all kinds of things. It's going to kick almost 20 million people off their healthcare insurance. Why? To give billionaires tax cuts. All the while, drastically increasing the deficit. You realize how hard that has to be? You cut 20 million people's healthcare and you still increase the deficit? That didn't decrease the deficit? Like, that's almost impressive. That's like, what's his name? Was it Baxter? When Ron Burgundy's dog ate a block of cheese? You can't even be mad. It's just impressive. So look, Donald Trump knows that's not popular. He knows that the way that ICE is going around a bunch of mass federal agents, kidnapping nonviolent students and grandmas and throwing them in vans, deporting them to God knows where. He knows that's not popular. He knows he didn't fix inflation, right? He knows that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. over at the Department of Health, I mean, that motherfucker is literally causing deaths. There will be millions of people that would have lived longer had Robert Kennedy never become the Secretary of Health. But my point in all that is Donald Trump knows what he's doing isn't popular. But instead of just face the music and face the voters, he said, no. I want every Republican state to go gerrymander their state even more and give us more Republican safe seats. Okay. So Texas does it. They're going to give themselves 5 more seats, apparently. California talks about doing it back. But now Indiana, right here, says, okay, we're going to do it because we have to do it to fight California. Well, wait a second. California is doing it to fight Texas. You think the Republicans said that? No, they just lie, right? The other thing they lie about, what did I say earlier? Huh? Victoria Spartz says we have to do it to fight the Democratic states that gerrymander. No, you want to fight the Democratic states that gerrymander? Ban gerrymandering, Congress. I said it once. I'll say it again. I'll say it at least one more time before this episode is over. For every Republican in Congress that is saying they have to gerrymander their state to benefit Republicans to fight a Democratic state that gerrymandered. No, you don't. You could ban all gerrymandering tomorrow. You control Congress. Do it. But, there's something bigger going on here. Why are Republicans so amped up to gerrymander in the middle of a decade? See, it's this pattern. Ever since Trump, the Republicans have realized they've just taken it to a further extreme. It's the idea that, like, you just lie. You don't have to tell the truth, right? Like, every congressman that is saying they have to gerrymander to fight another state knows they're lying, but they do it. Well, I mean, like, what? Why? Why would they lie? Because they know that the only way they're going to win is by lying. I want you to think about the number of times that something central to Donald Trump's campaign he talked about that he never intended to do or wasn't possible. He said he was going to end inflation on day one. He knew he couldn't do that. He said he's going to end Ukraine-Russia war in 24 hours. He knew he wasn't going to do that. He said he was going to make the federal government cover the cost of IVF. He actually probably could have did that. He didn't do it. All the Republicans do to stay in office is lie. Like right now, the whole thing in Washington, D.C., and they do this every campaign. They lie about crime statistics. They lie about inflation numbers. Every Republican was out there screaming about the price of groceries when Joe Biden was in. Now that Trump's in, all of a sudden they don't care. Did they honestly think Joe Biden could lower the price of groceries? No. And they know Trump probably couldn't either. But they were willing to lie and say it was Joe Biden's fault so Donald Trump would win. Think about how many times you've heard in the past 5 or 6 years a Republican fighting an election result in court. You have judges in elections. Republican judges that lose and try to get thousands of votes thrown out. Donald Trump literally called Georgia and said, find me 11,000 votes, and then caused the January 6th riots. Carrie Lake, I don't think she's still conceded her race from 2018 or 2020, right? I've seen it like when I ran for office. Like they didn't even bother to attack me on things I may have actually said. You just lie and say that, I support crime. Who the fuck supports crime? No one says, yeah, I want more crime. Like that doesn't happen, but those are the mailers they'll send. And let me tell you, it doesn't even matter what your position is on trans issues because they're going to say whatever the hell they want, no matter what you've said. Go watch Fox News. How many times a day do they actually even tell the truth? And hell, half the time they're telling the truth, they're omitting another part that gives it context. Like, do you realize how insane it is that there would be one party that gets everything right and the other side gets everything wrong? But that's what Fox News makes you believe. That's what Republicans running for office make you believe. If you ever heard, well, us Democrats don't do that. There's no one that'll attack a Democrat faster than another Democrat. I mean, shit. Millions of Democrats stayed at home in 2024 and didn't go vote to prove a point. Our president, Joe Biden, was literally the leader of the party. They forced his ass out. Republicans, they don't stand up to Trump for anything. So what do they do instead? They rig elections. They change rules. They gerrymander states when they could get rid of gerrymandering. They lie about their policies. They lie about inflation numbers. Hell, Trump didn't like the job numbers, so he fired the person that reports the job numbers. Republicans know the big, beautiful bill is going to kick millions of people off of healthcare, and they just lie about it. I mean, you've seen them. They said, no, we're not taking anybody off of Medicaid. That's objectively false. So when they're running for office, they lie about crime statistics. They lie about inflation. They lie about their opponent's policies. And then when they get in office, these same Republicans lie about the effects of their bills. They lie about stats. They lie about facts. I mean, they lie to get in office. They lie to stay in office. And that's what I'm saying about redistricting being part of something bigger. I don't know exactly when it was, but at some point 10, 15, 20 years ago, somewhere, Republicans said, our goal is no longer to win elections by campaigning the best or by having the best policies. We're going to do what we want, and then we'll figure out how to win. We will fight in court. We will redistrict. We will cheat where we can. But more than anything, we'll just fucking lie. We'll lie about numbers. We'll lie about policies. We'll find some cultural issue, blow it out of proportion, and keep lying about it. Remember the whole, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. That was all lie. And then people say, well, yeah, but they hit a nerve that was symbolic of something. That nerve was based on a lie they've been going at for years. There aren't millions of violent, undocumented workers running around America. But that's what they were telling everybody. The Republicans were telling everyone the reason you don't have a better paying job is because of that undocumented worker washing dishes in the back of a restaurant. The fuck does that have to do with the job that you don't have, that your grandpa used to have? Like, we all know what people are talking about when they're talking about this. They looked at their grandparents, they got one job and stayed there their whole life. And that job provided healthcare, provided retirement, provided good pay and a good standard of living. Guess what that job probably was? It was probably a union job. But now the Republicans have spent decades attacking unions. And the people that want the job that their grandpa had can't get it because the party they vote for destroyed the unions that gave grandpa that job. But the Republicans can't tell you that. They're not going to go tell us that, hey, you know the reason you don't have the job your grandpa had is because we fucked you over. No, it's because there's an undocumented worker who would rather wash dishes 80 hours a week to provide for their family. I'm not like stereotyping anything here, right? Because we have seen from the numbers and what's happening with these Trump policies where this is hurting a lot of companies. A lot of that undocumented labor, it's in the service industry. It's in farms, hotels, casinos, stuff like that. Construction, right? That job that guy has in his head, So my grandpa had it. Why don't I have it? Unions are gone. It has nothing to do with that undocumented worker. It does probably have something to do with technology. Actually manufacturing in America is more productive than ever, just using way less people. Now, could we do something about that? A government as a society? Sure, we could invest in technology. We could invest in jobs that'll give better paying jobs. But the only people who do that are Democrats, because the Republicans, what do? What did Trump just do? They get in, they cut government, and they cut taxes for billionaires. How many good paying jobs in your local rural state have been created because Elon Musk has billions of extra dollars? But the Republicans can't tell you that. They know what their policies are doing. They know their policies are taking away the exact life that you're hoping to get. So they're just going to lie to you about it. They're just going to change who you vote for. They're just going to change how you vote, where you vote. They're going to change the outcome of elections. They'll do anything they can, but actually run on their policies. Now, that brings us to Indiana, because they're about to do that. And I do have to say, there have been a couple of Republicans in our General Assembly that have come out and said, no, this is too extreme. It's not what's good for Indiana. You got State Rep Hunter Smith. You got State Rep Danny Lopez. You got State Rep Becky Cash. They've already come out and said this is too extreme, not good for Indiana. So if later they change their mind and vote for this, then they didn't actually care about what's best for Indiana, right? But do they actually care what's best for Indiana? I mean, do any of these Republicans? If so, why are they lying? Here's my honest question to the elected Republicans. And actually, I would love to hear a response. Not a pivot, not a what about. Tell the honest truth. Do you believe in your policies or not? Because right now you're trying to gerrymander. Right now you're trying to challenge elections when you lose. You're trying to rig states. I mean, you lie about the policies, big, beautiful bill. You're lying about the effects of that. You lie about your opponents. Why? If your policies are as good for the average American as you say they are, why do you need to lie about the outcomes? Why do you need to lie about the policy? Why do you need to lie about the stats? Why do you need to lie about facts? Do you not believe in your policies? I mean, you're voting for them. You got to think they're good, right? If not, then why? I mean, maybe they're just beholden to some corporate techno bro somewhere. And they say, I will lie for this man so that he gets whatever he wants. But that doesn't seem right. They'll say their policies are great. They'll say Democrats' policies are great. But then they don't actually talk about their policies. They don't actually talk about Democrat policies. They talk in vague terms. They lie about stats. They just say things whether they're true or not. I mean, I'll tell you, I think it's because deep down they know that their policies suck. I think they know their policies hurt most middle-class voters. I think they know that they hurt most groups. They hurt most damn near anybody as in, straight male. They know deep down hundreds of Republicans in Congress, thousands across the nation, are just puppets for a couple of billionaire tech bros and a couple of right-wing podcast hosts. So they lie. They change the game. They change their voters because they know if they told the truth about what their policies are doing and what Democrats' policies actually did, they couldn't win. I mean, am I over the top? Republicans prove me wrong. This next election, let's actually go mano y mano, as the saying goes. Debate us, Democrats, but don't lie. Don't lie in your ads. Don't let Fox News hosts lie. Don't let them twist things for Republicans. Don't lie about job numbers. Don't lie about crime. Don't lie about trans kids. Don't lie about whether or not people are losing health care. Don't lie about the effect of the deficit. Tell the truth. Sack up. Tell people what you're actually doing and say it with your chest. Because one of two things happens, right? Turns out your policies are great and you win and you guys can just point and laugh at me. We told you, Josh. See, we were lying, but we could have won that whole time by telling the truth. Or you lose, and then you have to admit that you were lying all along. You have to admit that your policies suck and that your leaders are weak and that you never cared about the middle class. Stop hiding behind your lies. Run on your actions, run on your beliefs, run on your results right now, tomorrow. Prove me wrong. Republicans in Congress ban gerrymandering. You know enough Democrats will go along right now. Victoria Spartz, you believe so much in your policies. You believe so much in Donald Trump's policies. You believe so much in the MAGA movement. Then go into Congress, pass a bill that bans all gerrymandering, and actually let the voters decide. Run on your policies. Run on what you've done. Prove me wrong, guys. I hope one day, one of these podcasts that I'm talking to you guys about some debate I watched in which there was no fact twisting. The Republicans did not lie. And then we could actually see what is best for America. That's not what we're seeing now. That's not what we saw last year when Donald Trump lied all the goddamn time. And that's not what we're seeing right now when Republicans are claiming to gerrymander, to fight gerrymandering, when they could ban it tomorrow. Keep up the fight, Indiana. Keep up the fight, America. It's long, it's hard, it's tiring, but it's worth it. See you next time, guys.